Now we're getting these latest videos from China as the COVID crisis in that country deepens, with China also hiding COVID data. New videos that we've accessed shows how bodies are piling up in hospitals, dead bodies piling up in hospitals in China. China's health ministry, in fact, has insisted that COVID-19 information and case figures are transparent. What the head of Bureau of Medical Administration has said is that China has always been publishing information on COVID-19 deaths and severe cases in the spirit of openness and transparency. As per the latest reports from world media, the deaths related to COVID in China could be as high as 9,000 per day. The WHO too, World Health Organization too, had in fact sought authentic data from China a few days back, as mystery shrouds over the number of cases in China, China's COVID response, as well as the number of deaths that are taking place in mainland China due to COVID. Amid the entire confusion and emergency, there are videos being circulated on social media, and one of the videos is on your screens right now, which shows how dead bodies have been piled up in fact in hospitals. And as we broadcast these pictures and get you information of what we know about the COVID horror in China, we have Andrew KP Leong, international, and who's a strategic affairs, strategic analyst. He's joining us from Hong Kong to give us more information about the COVID crisis in China. Mr. Andrew, if you could tell us about the situation, the COVID situation in China right now.
Well, I think after 3 years of lockdown, the country's people most of the people have not been exposed to the virus. Hence, there was a very, very low death rate. According to Johns Hopkins mortality analysis dated at 31st of December yesterday, the death rate is only 1.2 per 100,000 people, compared with over 300 in the case of the United States. But that was before this sudden surge, which of course extremely worrying for the country. And of course, as I said, almost the entire population are not prepared for this because they've been relying on government-imposed tests, and now they are all left on their own. And then I think that the unfortunate thing is that the government appears to have wasted the opportunity of this 3 year lockdown to prepare for the eventual exit strategy in terms of storage of the necessary ordinary medicine for people to administer to suppress fevers and mild ailments. So the result has been that there is a sudden panic in the population, clearing out a lot of the medicine in pharmacies and creating a kind of panic. But if you look at the overall statistics, as I mentioned, the Johns Hopkins University's mortality analysis, China's death rate has been extremely low compared to, as I said, the United States over 300 per 100,000, and Japan 45, much lower, but still much higher than China's 1.2. Japan's is 45 per 100,000. But then, of course, according to Nature, again, a renowned world science journal, as many as 1 million people could die from the surge, because China, in a way, is the victim of its own success, as it were. Success in the sense that a lot of people, they have not been exposed to the virus because of this lockdown, and then because they, as a result, they have very low immunity. Although the vaccination rate has been pushed up overall, except the elderly. Overall, the vaccination rate of over 3 doses is, according to reports, is approaching 90%. But then amongst the elderly, it's very, very low. So again, 1 billion deaths, but if we put it in the context of 1.4 billion people, it's less than 0.1%. less than 1 in 1,000.
Mr. Andrew?
So I think that this is worrying, and I think the World Health Organization is now asking China to share some of the data. The tragedy is that because of the relaxation of the self-test, a lot of people are no longer reporting their infections because the infections were likely to cure themselves, most of the people, within a week or so. And so people are now, a lot of people are more or less laughing it off, and you can see that there's a tsunami of people, tourists, going on holidays abroad and so on and so forth. But of course, it doesn't ease the concern of other countries, because the fear is that with China's huge population, there could be a risk of a new variant. And hence, the World Health Organization is demanding sharing of real-time data regularly.
Mr. Andrew, you seem to be downplaying this entire threat because as per reports and as per the recent report that we've read is that the deaths could be as high as 9,000 cases per day. And in fact, what certain reports and estimates also suggest is that China could witness at least 25,000 COVID-related deaths in January per day. I'm talking about on per day basis. You seem to be downplaying the threat. Do you think, then why do you think is China trying to hide the COVID data? Why are they not publishing the data so that there could be more transparency on the variant as well as the deaths and the cases are concerned?
Well, I think it's a question of hiding, because at the end, it's very difficult to hide, because China is now welcoming a lot of people into the country. Especially, there seems to be a huge wave of foreign students going back to China. How can you hide this real situation? I mean, China would not be as stupid as that, But then, as I said, as I mentioned, it's very difficult to come up with a reliable data now that people are not required to report it. But I think that the death rates, the true situation will become truly known to China itself and to the rest of the world after the situation stabilizes. My take is that the situation is likely to stabilize within the next couple of months. Because at the end of the day, and most of my friends in China, they've got it, because as many as half of the population, we talk about 1.4 billion, are now affected, and they're spreading very, very fast. But then, in spite of the high infection rate, the death rate and the mortality rate is just extremely low. And so a lot of people just get well after a week or so. But then there is this initial panic about the lack of medicine, because people are stocking up and so on. But then I think that if you compare with the mortality rate analysis by Johns Hopkins, and also by the Edelman Trust Barometer conducted New York-based. Conducted in January this year, there was a high degree of trust of the people of the government's management of the pandemic. So I think that there is a great deal of misunderstanding of what the zero COVID policies are all about, and then the latest chaos and panic does not lend themselves to a great deal of trust.
Mr. Andrew, we got your point. Yes. Mr. Andrew, we got your point. Thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. Sorry to interrupt you, only due to want of time. We will keep our viewers getting updates on the COVID chaos that is spiraling out of control in China. For now, we're heading into a short break.